So there's lots of things that can put you at risk for addiction. And when I'm telling you about these things, what I want you to do is, if you've ever been worried about somebody that you're friends with or somebody that you care about, think about whether or not these things impact them. So the first thing that puts you at risk for addiction is just your genetics. 40 to 60% of your risk for addiction comes from whether or not your parents or your grandparents or your aunts and uncles ever struggled with substance use. The next thing is if you have a co-occurring mental health disorder, something like anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder. Then there's chronic pain issues. If you're in pain all the time, you're more likely to become addicted. Finally, there's this thing called adverse childhood events, and this has been studied a whole lot. So if you have 4 or more of these adverse childhood events, your risk for addiction goes up by 50 to 66%. Did a parent or other adult in your household swear at you, insult you, put you down, or humiliate you, or act in a way that made you afraid that you might be physically hurt?
There were times when, my father and my mother were upset with me, and I was sworn at. I mean, I don't, I guess that's normal to me, normal-ish.
I definitely had adults in my life who definitely, while they were intoxicated, would, swear and yell, and, I was afraid sometimes.
Did a parent or other adult in your household push, grab, slap, or throw something at you, or ever hit you so hard that you had marks or were injured?
There was one occasion, yes, and I think it was mostly because of intoxication, frankly. I think overall I had a very loving family. They did the best they could, and I had a generally good childhood, but yeah.
Did an adult or person at least 5 years older than you ever touch or fondle you, or have you touch their body in a sexual way? Try to or actually have oral, anal, or vaginal sex with you?
So when I was 14, I was sexually assaulted by my stepfather. So that definitely changed my life, sent me in a whirlwind, especially being so young. I wasn't using at the time, but definitely played a part in my using, I guess you'd say.
Did you often feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were important or special? Your family didn't look out for each other, feel close to each other, or support each other? Did you often feel like you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had nobody to protect you? Were your parents too drunk or high to take care of you, or to take you to the doctor if you needed it? Were your parents ever separated or divorced? Was your mother or stepmother often pushed, grabbed, slapped, or had something thrown at her? Sometimes or often kicked, bitten, hit with a fist, or hit with something hard? Ever repeatedly hit over at least a few minutes or threatened with a gun or knife? Did a household member ever go to prison? Did you ever live with anyone who was a problem drinker or alcoholic, or who used street drugs?
My family history of addiction is, I'd say, extensive. I have family members that have struggled, and some of them didn't make it. And some of them are doing well and doing great, and they've had the opportunity to find recovery. But yeah, my family does have addiction.
Definitely, family history. A lot of people in my family struggle with addiction. My dad drank a lot. My mom drank a lot. I knew at a certain age that my mom smoked too.
Being exposed early to alcoholism definitely probably played a role and marijuana use, I would say, played a role into how I viewed drugs. So you're under this impression that it's okay with all of the drugs to do this.
Was a household member depressed or mentally ill, or did a household member attempt suicide?
I have a close family member that has manic depression, and I think that it's very well managed now, but that may have been a different story earlier in their lifetime.
Unfortunately, my family doesn't really talk about a lot. My immediate family they struggle with depression and anxiety, and It's a very vague term, but, you know, I feel like it's definitely there for my family.
Mental health does play a role in the alcohol use within my family, and I believe those two are partnered. There's a couple different people who have the same mental health issue. That part runs in my family, and that's schizophrenia. You know, I come to realize now they use alcohol, they use smoking weed to cope with their mental health issue that they're not dealing with on the side over here.